Stand down, you Wind Waker Twilight Princess sickos out there. We'll get to you later in this video, but this is the third video of Tears of the Kingdom with a guest appearance of the legend herself, Zelda. We got a lot of comments to go through, but we're gonna start right at something I haven't seen talked about, and I'm kind of baffled. Let's talk simple dungeons. Zelda's identity sometimes is tied to the dungeons and how we tackle them. There was quite a bit of uproar when got to the Divine Beast in Breath of the Wild and realized, this is definitely not a traditional dungeon. I don't think Tears of the Kingdom has traditional dungeons, but it does have more fleshed out ones. And so then Joe Happiness over here, look at the top criticisms Tears of the Kingdom receives. Dungeon structure is even simpler than Breath of the Wild's. And then they go on to say much other things, because that's usually what these comments are about. I've never seen that anywhere. Did we play the same game? Because I'm actually truly baffled by this one. The Divine Beasts of old, Breath of the Wild, I thought were very cool conceptually. I like how they were tied to the story, and they were just kind of unique. But they more or less played out the same once you got inside them, and they all looked pretty similar too. Now, Tears of the Kingdom, you're still activating things inside the dungeons once you get into the main portions of the dungeons, but how is climbing up floating boats and plowing down into a storm not more complicated than a Divine Beast? How is navigating the desert light and turning wheels to find yourself faced with this big baddie, and then it runs away and you get to go further into this pyramid and another layer to this really cool concept for a dungeon? The dungeons themselves, which I've said in a previous video, have layers even before you unlock the actual dungeon, where you're going to be doing the councils and then fighting the boss. We didn't have that really in Breath of the Wild. We navigated areas like we always do in all the Zelda games to get us to the dungeon, but these ones were even more thought out. I will take that every day over whatever we had before. The only thing that's similar really to me is, yes, you're going to find a new champion, and yes, you're going to go to the 4 different temples like you did last time. Sort of. But there's nothing simple about the structure to me. There's variety everywhere, and the lead up to the water temple is so freaking good. I just don't see this one. I'm sorry. But I appreciate your comment. Joe Happiness back here again. It wasn't a sequel and was never intended to be more than DLC, but the ideas got too ambitious without a unifying vision. It is a sequel, whether the past 2 videos on this topic that I made or the below comments discussions haven't cemented it. It is what it is. Whether it does it well enough, that's up for debate. Clearly. Oh boy, that's a lot of replies. But this little take of without unified vision is just an interesting statement. I think one thing that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom do well is tying mechanics back to the story lore of this iteration of Zelda games. Why are all these swords rusted and breaking? Well, the past war. Oh, now they're rusty from the gloom. Well, that's freaking cool. We have a reason for using our abilities. And if you've watched my previous videos, I am a breakable weapon stan because I think it works well with the exploration of this game, and that's at the heart of it. I think their vision of this game shows its head a lot throughout this experience. We have the gloom down below Hyrule leaking out and getting people sick, so that starts our characters on their journey. And guess who's recovering their energy down there? In the depths, where the gloom is spreading and getting all nasty. Yes, Papa Dwarf himself. Oh, baby. Well, I look at this game, and I see ambitious systems and wild abilities like Ascend, but I don't think they feel disconnected from this world. All these systems seem to be believable to me in the world that I am exploring, especially when you go down into the depths. Besides the gloom, you see these encampments for our banana-loving assassins using the technology to guard what they think is theirs. Knowing they had these crazy set of abilities in the first game, in Breath of the Wild, decided to totally pivot to something new and fresh and still make it seem like it would make sense in this expanded world. I think it works. Maybe you disagree? Well, why is that? I'd love to know. And I'd love for you to stick around and talk. It's not always fierce combatant takes. We get resolutions like this. Look at that. Look at the respect we're showing. We went back and forth quite a few times, so you can critique what we do here. Just be nice about it, and I hope I'll see you down there in the comments below. So subscribe, join this fun community we're building, trying to get to that coveted 2K by the end of the year. That'd be awesome. And if you leave more comments, maybe we'll make a 4th video on Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Alright, you want some of the old Zelda games on the wonderful Switch system. I get it, I really do. Who doesn't want more Zelda on Nintendo's most popular console? I mean, I do. But wouldn't you rather have something new? Echoes of Wisdom is popping up out of nowhere, and I still see and hear some excitement, but also some disappointment for these ports or these remasters of games we've gotten before. Now I'm with you. Why can't we have both? You're right, and I think we will get there. But if you ask me if you could get rid of Echoes in favor of a Twilight Princess Wind Waker on Switch, I'm picking Echoes every time. And that's with me out even playing it, and with potentially having even some issues with it. Well, why? Because I like new things, and I love this new expansion of puzzle-solving Zelda games are going in. Some can see this as the Sandbox identity crisis. We are getting too far away from the old games. But I would guess we'll return to a fully traditional one at some point. And heck, isn't it amazing that we are getting brand new entries in the top-down space and these absolutely meaty 3D games? The future of Zelda has never been more exciting for me, and hopefully a lot of you as well. We've gotten a lot of linear traditional Zelda games. You know the type, you get the item and it solves puzzles in set ways. You go through a set order of dungeons, maybe a slight deviation in the order you can tackle a couple, but heavily tied to items to solve individual dungeons. Compare that to now, another new Zelda where experimentation and multiple routes to get past obstacles is the key. This game, again, oozes creativity, just like what we were talking about with Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. The physics engine of those games were impeccable. The idea of being able to solve the puzzles in many multitudes of ways is really exciting a lot of the time. Because for me, if I get stuck on a puzzle, and I know there's only one way to get past it, I might just get frustrated and put it down for a while. But knowing that there are multiple ways to bypass an obstacle in your way, Echoes of Wisdom is showing that that's exactly what they're going around, how you navigate the world, and Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild obviously did that as well. I'm going to put more energy into just throwing crap at the wall to get past certain things and having those aha moments, because most likely something I try might end up working. And that happened a lot of the time in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and I'm sure that's going to happen many of times in Echoes of Wisdom. Just the aspect of one solution doesn't fit all the scenarios is refreshing. I haven't got enough of that style of game yet. Maybe if I get 4 more of these entries or, a handful more, maybe it would start to wear thin. But I'm really interested to see how this concept translates into the 2D setting. Because, well, it's new again. Again, that's what I'm talking about. Even though it's a different style, the identity, this is still a Zelda game. It's not losing its identity. We're expanding on it. And a new game in this series over a game we've gotten before is what I'm going to pick, I would say 9.5 times out of 10. Also playing a Zelda. Let's go, because maybe this will lead... Can we dream for a second? A chic, focused gameplay game in the future? I can dream, right? Oh, baby, give it to me. And one thing I want to point out too is I like that Zelda plays completely different from this first trailer than Link, because otherwise to me it would just feel like a palette swap. They thought this through and purposely are making it feel different, but still in the spirit of a Zelda game. I love that. Zelda's always been about magic. Now, there could be problems with not being able to directly attack, but we didn't see even the fraction of the echoes that you get, it sounds like, so maybe we can echo a sword and I can whack them. So even if the Sandbox take on Zelda formula isn't for everyone and we are getting now another iteration of it, it still looks like Zelda to me. Not my Zelda? No, that's not the case. This is my Zelda. I'm excited for this to be my Zelda.